things that I had in my list of questions to ask Jeremy was around because I'm a human resources consultant and a workplace mediator. So I'm a trained mediator, and I also do just general HR consulting.
Okay.
So obviously culture comes up a lot in conversations, and as you say, there's some really great culture workshops, and we've all got our own version of them. I guess I'm interested in, as a consultant, how could I translate your emotional culture deck across a wide variety of organisations of numerous sizes, from nationwide, in fact global, through to 4 or 5 person organisations. I guess that's one of the things I'm really interested in.
So originally when I designed it, I probably, just from the environment I was in, I designed it for workshop use with people. Like, at the time we were running workshops for 12 to 30 sort of people. That was sort of the environment I was working in our sweet spot. But we're also working with large corporates like NZI, for instance, over the years. So I was thinking about how the game could be used in that. But my very first thinking about this was how we did it at organizational level for big organizations, but then broke it up into those smaller workshops like you're sort of talking about, Tony. And what I quickly realized over time was that because this conversation is unfamiliar, I'll use the word unfamiliar, is unfamiliar to people, which in layman terms means that most people don't give a shit about it. They care more about that cognitive stuff, ticking the HR box, saying we've got purpose, vision, and values, and we've done a roadshow. And because of that, what I've come to realize is that with larger organizations, you need to take far more of a guerrilla marketing approach to it, or a Trojan horse type approach, where you work with small teams at a lower level, lots of different teams, and work your way up, which I sort of touched on before. And I've had success with that, inadvertently success with that with government agencies here or one particular government agency here in New Zealand, where the head of HR liked the game, but didn't really, if he didn't think it was credible enough, or he just had other priorities, who knows, one of those two things. But slowly over time, over the last year, more and more teams have been doing it. And then all of a sudden, more and more people are talking about it and hearing about it. And it's slowly permeating through the organization that way. So not top down whatsoever, just each individual team in their unique environment with their leader saying, how can we be the highest performing team we can be? And how can we create a culture to help us do our jobs and work together? And that's exciting for me, because I think the homogenous one-way top-down thing has proved to be a bit of a failure, although there's great books written about it, but that's narrative and storytelling rather than truth, I think, from what I gather, talking with a lot of people. So large organizations, it certainly works that way, where I have worked with individual leaders and helped their teams do it at an individual team basis, which is getting noticed higher up. Then at the other way, it can work with IAG, for instance. The COO, Melissa Cantel, funnily enough, I went into IAG and ran a workshop with a lower in hierarchy sounds bad here, right? Because they're not lower down in that sense, but just not near the senior table. And then the HR person who was in that room told somebody, and then somehow the COO heard about it, and she said, we love it. I want to run it with my team and run it with 60 leaders. So then they ran a 60-person leadership workshop across the whole of IAG using the game to talk about how they want to lead their people in IAG moving forward. That was very much a top-down thing, right? Because that came from Melissa at COO, which is great because she bought into it and she loved it. But that's quite rare, I've found, in big corporates. But both those approaches work depending if you can convince somebody. I say convince because sometimes it does take convincing. If you can convince somebody at senior leadership level to buy into it, then it's great. Or otherwise, I'm sort of building guerrilla warfare and guerrilla marketing. It is. I've used that term, right? Because you do small things at a low cost and lots of them, and it slowly adds up to something big. So that's at a corporate level with lots of organizations, big organizations. Then in the middle, still large organizations, but across countries. I've been working on a project across Australia, New Zealand, 500 people. So one parent company, 3 business units, 3 businesses, separate businesses and brands under that. But we got buy-in at the senior leadership level of the parent company. So we ran it with the senior leadership team and had the first sort of discovery session, what they wanted, how they wanted the whole of the organization to feel and not feel at a group level, group effect. And then they went out and ran 28 workshops across Australia and New Zealand. to find out from those individual teams. And then we came back and then collated all that data, more of a traditional culture consulting project, right? Collated it all and then said, this is what we think it means. Now let's go back out, which is still okay. It's not my favorite way of doing it because it still becomes top down again. But it's been fun to work on that and test that and experiment with that approach. And then at the other end, I've worked with people purely at a one-on-one level, one to four, like a small 4-person company, where you go, if I'm the consultant and going in there and helping them, we just say, well, our organization is a team of 4, and we're just saying, how do we all want to feel as a company? Because the company is the team, right?
Mm.
And then in the very end, it's one-to-one leadership development.
Mm.
And there's people in our Elephant Rider community who specialize in leadership coaching, and they use it purely in leadership coaching.
Mm.
So,
right.
Yeah, what I mean by that is they work with their leaders, their clients, to help them have a conversation, a self-awareness conversation, to help them understand what they want to feel and not feel in their work. Because to be able to manage other people, I think just to manage teams, not my quote, but the quote is, to manage teams, you have to be able to manage your own emotions first.
Mm.
And so by using the game as a self-awareness tool, that's the first step. And then flipping the conversation and going, okay, how do you want your people to feel now? And then working with them to go, okay, what's your leadership style going to be to help them feel that, why, etc. Just as a beautiful aid to have that conversation. So that's sort of the spectrum and I've worked at all ends of that. I've worked at all ends of that now, which is exciting to see it. But still, the companies and the teams and the leaders that have the most success, there's no way around this. There's never been any way around this. Are the teams that create more moments of conversation about it, rather than the 6-monthly or the yearly strategy away day.
Mm.
You go, hey, we're doing this cool thing, and everybody love it. The feedback from 80% of people, 90% of people will be, we love it, but then it doesn't get talked about again.
Mm.
This game doesn't fix that, because you still have to have a leader who decides to put their attention and focus on it.
Mm.
Yeah. Formal leader or informal, either or, somebody has to be able to have the ability to go, we need to talk about this more often.
Mm. Actually, can I just jump in? Because I know actually one of my partners is very much about cognitive culture.
Okay.
So what's the best way I can actually bring him on board in terms of emotional culture? Like how have your experiences been in the past?
Yeah.
Because
things.
he's a real digital mind. And,
which is not abnormal, which is more common than not. There's 2 things. First of all, get a game, sit down and play it with them. Simply that. Don't give them the science. Don't give them the research. Get the game and go, I found this cool thing. Do you want to test it out with me? That is the intro. And you get him to explore it. If he still hates it and doesn't believe in it, then you almost got no hope. You can then hit him with the research, but that might backfire.
Yep.
But you can then go, hey, check out this 20 years of research, but just share the one article that I think is the most influential, the Manage Your Emotional Culture one, and share this and use that as a discussion point. But first of all, get a game and play it with him, because he'll then convince himself that it matters.
Yep.
Or he'll further convince himself it doesn't matter.
Sure.
And each one of those things are fine, because he's allowed to have a belief either way. But if he does like it, then you go, okay, wow, look at this 20 years of research that talks about it. Share that one article. And if he doesn't like it, say, I still came across this thing and you could share it, but be prepared for that to backfire. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Cool. So does that answer your question around the different spectrums in terms of sizes of companies, teams you can use it with?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Very thorough.
Just from a purely tactical one, before I come to you, Karen, logistical thing, the bigger the group of people, the shorter the workshop can be. The smaller the group, the longer it might go, because in a small group, still depending on psychological safety within the group, but generally speaking, in a small group, people feel more safe to talk than they do in a big group.
Right.
And so you can get through it a lot easier with 30 people than you can with a group of 5.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I found. Yeah.
Good advice. Thank you.